All right. It is 11 p.m. I just wrapped up a pretty grueling session, and in this video, I'm going to share my experience of using the micro color panel on real-world color grading projects. I've been using it as my main panels over the past few days, and I wanted to test out how it stacks up against the mini panel. This is a follow-up video to my unboxing video I posted last week. I'll leave a link somewhere. Okay, so first off, some context. I use the mini panel out of necessity, but I don't love its layout. It takes up way too much room on my desk, and also I can't stand the feel of the buttons.
That's great.
So I've outsourced most of their commands to these over-the-top macro pads, which means I only use the balls and rings, a few knobs on the back of the console for a few select things, mainly pulling keys and tracking. When I'm not grading, it just sort of sits there in front of me, hogging up most of my desk space, and it's too big of a panel to hot swap in and out when switching from work to play. So I've actively been trying to make my grading setup more modular and take up a smaller footprint. Needless to say that when I saw this micro panel announced, I was very motivated to get my hands on one.
Shut up and take my money!
Now, I'm very aware I'm not the end user Blackmagic had in mind when they were designing this product, but nonetheless, I thought, it would be able to hang and this would be a good stress test. Okay, so to better showcase the features of this panel, I've switched to this top-down view. I'm sorry that my ghostly hands are blown out. This is my webcam. There's nothing I can do. I really couldn't rig up a system that I was satisfied, and I think overall this works the best. I am connected currently using Bluetooth, and I just wanted to showcase that. It's super easy to connect, no problems, and I will be doing this demo over Bluetooth only just to show that it works just as well as wired. I'd be hard pressed to notice a difference. Okay, so starting off with this cluster here, which I probably found myself using the most. Obviously, the wipe still feature is great. So holding down wipe still and the gain ring allows you to move the reference wipe, which is great. I absolutely love this, and I used it all the time. So the alt functions of play still, I found I used a lot as well. So for shift down play still, toggles your gallery, which is super handy. But even better is the shift up play still, which when I have multiple clips selected, it puts it into my split screen view, which I use all the time. And having this right there, I mean, I had it mapped to a macro before, but just having it on my panel now is super handy. Now the cursor is interesting. I don't think it has a whole lot of uses unless you're on the iPad, but I found it was super handy during live streams. This cursor shows up in my client's viewport. So if I'm talking about something very minuscule of like, oh, what about that Topo Chico bottle in the background? Do you want me to do that? And I can literally point at it. So it's actually been really handy, just not in the way you'd expect it to be. Add keyframe is super clutch because that does not exist on the mini panel, and I'm stoked to have that right there. Add window is if I do just by itself, it does an ellipse. By the way, I use the reset button all the time. It's great. If I do shift add window, it does the linear box. And if I do shift down on the window, it actually will track backwards and forwards, which is sweet. If you want regular controls of the tracker, you have those as well. Shift down and right or left will do the direction of the tracker. And then if you hit the pause button, it'll stop the track as well. So having all the tracker controls on this small panel is absolutely crazy. And last but not least, I absolutely love the ability to change the input sizing using the rings. So shift down, the gain ring zooms in and out. With the gain ball, you can reposition, and then the gamma ring does your rotation as well as you can change the aspect of your X and Y. Not that you'd ever want to do that, but. And finally, the cherry on top, I've found the perfect use for this slot here. I can rest my stylus, and it fits so snug. Love it. So what I've really been liking is the fact that I've been able to free up a lot of the slots on my macro pads to do other functions rather than have redundant ones that the mini panel already had that I refuse to use simply because of ergonomics and my weirdly picky and OCD brain that really cares about how buttons feel. I know. Hashtag need that talk. Okay, so moving on to what I don't like. Well, to start out, the custom user button isn't a feature yet. As usual, Blackmagic is shipping us sort of half-baked products, but what else is new? I guess I'll have to do a follow-up video in the near future once that feature is actually a feature. I'm hoping that's when Resolve 19 comes out of beta. By the way, these panels don't work unless you are running Resolve 19, so I had to begrudgingly update to the beta build, which is something I never do. It really freaks me out, but here we are. Okay, so one of the main reasons why I picked up this panel, besides its form factor, is the feature that allows you to control the power windows with the balls and rings. I was trained professionally on Basslight, and I missed that feature so much. The minute I saw this was part of this panel, I just ran and pre-ordered it right then and there because I really prefer controlling my shapes with that system rather than using knobs. But there are a few flaws with this, and I hope Blackmagic can just iterate and improve on it. Here's what I don't like. So I know I'm splitting hairs here, but with this current setup, it just has me question whether it's even worth controlling shapes with the panel. The response is just too slow, whereas with my stylus, it's a lot faster. And yeah, I can only control one parameter at a time, but because of that speed, I still think I'm quicker with the stylus. And the great thing about the control panel, in theory, is you can control multiple parameters at the same time. Placement, size, and softness all at the same time. If we could control the speed at which these respond and just like up the sensitivity, this panel would be insane. Okay, rant over, moving on. The rest of my gripes on this panel all boil down to just not actual problems, more just missed opportunities. For example, the offset button. When you do shift up, it toggles to log. But when you do shift down, nothing happens. Like, why can't this just take me to the HDR wheels? There's no control for that. Obviously, I have it in my macros, but that would be super cool. Then all of the knobs, what if when you hold shift, it does one thing, and then shift down, it does another? And also, why is there a Lumamix knob still? Like, who is using Lumamix so much that they need a knob for it? Like, why is that still a thing? I will say the learning curve is a little steep, especially if you have larger hands. This is quite a small board, so when you're kind of maneuvering between the shifts and getting used to the lay of the land, you can end up doing a lot of mistakes. So for example, when you do play still and you hold down wipe and do it, you can accidentally touch the gain ball. So you gotta watch out for that. Like when you're using the shift functions for the lift gamma gain wheels, you just really have to make sure you're holding down the shift because otherwise you end up doing changes to your image that you didn't want to do. So just little stuff like that. With time, they all get better, but just so you guys know. So all that being said, while this panel does have some pretty hefty drawbacks that will make it unusable for some, I think it really punches above its price point in terms of features and functionality. And I can see it being a huge time saver and just like productivity multiplier for small operations like wedding videography or, content creators and people like that. I think this will serve them really, really well. Now, any sensible colorist would immediately switch back to the mini panel for numerous reasons, but I'm not a sensible colorist, and I just like the form factor and the feel of the buttons too much that I'm going to make this work. There's stuff that this can do that the mini can't, so it sort of all comes out in the wash. I'll be just as fast with a way smaller footprint on my desk, which at the end of the day is what I'm trying to reduce. Now, if I were just starting out and I was kind of torn between this panel and the old micro panel, I would 100% go for this one. Kind of a no-brainer. It's cheaper, has way more functionality, and yeah, you just get way more bang for your buck. I'm kind of surprised Blackmagic hasn't completely just discontinued the micro panel. Maybe they did. I just saw that the micro panel was still available on B&H, so I don't know. At any rate, 100% this. The only upper hand that the original micro panel has is the fact that, the balls and rings are far more better feeling and premium. They're the same as the mini. So if all you do is use lift gamma gain all day, then I guess, yeah, go for the old micro panel. Speaking of which, since you've stuck around till the end of the video, I'm going to announce a giveaway that I just thought of literally 2 minutes ago. And I've decided it's time to pass my old my old color panel. No, this is the micro. Man, I'm so tired. To hand off my micro panel to someone who will make better use of it. These have served me well over the years. We've been through thick and thin, borderline emotional right now. But yeah, I think it's time for me to give back and let you guys have a stab at winning these. So this contest or giveaway, let's do, so follow me on Instagram. I'll put the handle here. And DM me, this is to enter, DM me your name, why you got into color grading, and your top 3 favorite movies of all time. They don't have to be because of the color grade or anything, just like movies that you absolutely adore and you watch over and over again, and they're, your top 3. And I will keep this open until... what do we think? June 30th. And then, I'll pick a random DM. Mostly probably based on what movies you choose. But don't be going and choosing like super artsy stuff. I'm not into that. Thanks all 3 of you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.